Hello and howdy, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours FM episode 97. I am your host, Carrie Dills, and I've got a treat for you today with chatting with Brandy Lawson about masterminds and business buddies. Before we get into all the good stuff, I've got to tell you about a couple of other good things brought to you by this episode's sponsors. First, we've got DIY SEO courses, which is it's put out by Rebecca Gill over at Web Savvy Marketing, who's a guru in her own right. And it's a SEO course that takes you through how to kind of learn the basics and do these things on your own site. I'm going through it. It's awesome. Check that out, DIYSEOcourses.com. And then we've got Pantheon, who, if you're talking about like high traffic websites, WordPress sites that need to be able to scale and have hosting that supports that, that's what they do. But if you're building those kind of sites, then they've got a free webinar going on to teach you about how to build that infrastructure, some sources, resources to look for, some common pitfalls, that sort of thing. You can check them out over at, let me see, where, cdills.me/high-speed-sites. Or if you don't want to remember any of those URLs, just go over to the website, officehours.fm. And on this episode page, episode 97, you can find those links in my sidebar. So with that, let us begin. Brandy, hello. How the heck are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm glad that the links are going to be there, because I was like, DIY SEO, what? Oh, there's people who need that. So.
There's people who need it bad. Like part of the course, there's a lot of practical exercises as you go through and do. And one of the things is go through and kind of review your competitor's site. And I don't know exactly who I would say my competitors are, but people like me in this space doing WordPress consulting and so forth. Man, they've got some terrible SEO going on. So it makes me feel better about myself that, I can in fact win.
It's good. Yeah. It's a twofold thing. Very good. Yeah, but no, it's kind of a cloudy day here in Arizona. Things are awesome. It's bike week. I'm gonna get out on the motorcycle tomorrow, so things are good.
So bike week means anybody that's got two wheels and a motor.
Yep.
Ride it. Yeah,
there's actually a ton of events. As it turns out, our weather here is pretty good for motorcycle riding this time of year. So there's a lot of events that happen, and people come from all over for this first week of April. That's bike week. So my husband's been out on the bike, and I'm gonna get to go play tomorrow.
That is awesome. Wow. So you're badass.
Well, I don't know if I go that far.
Well, hey, you've got your own bike, so that's
Let's be clear. I drive the boat. I actually ride on the back of a friend's bike. So the boys have choppers, and two girls are on the Harley.
Okay. Well, you still get to have your badass status.
Thank you.
I ride a scooter.
Adorable.
Well, yeah, something like that. So for those of you joining us live, the listeners out there, always appreciate you tuning in live. As usual, you are welcome to ask questions on Twitter using the hashtag OfficeFM, or if you're watching this over on Google+, you can use their little Q&A app to send in your questions, and we will get those rolling. Wow. So Paul, before we talk about masterminds, we're going to finish this conversation about bikes. And Paul wants to know, what's the best biker concert this week?
Saturday night, there is, Buck Cherry's coming back, which I happen to really love Buck Cherry. So I think that's the best concert this week. There's some pretty good ones, and they keep adding bands. So there's that.
There you go. You had one on deck ready to go. I like it. So I had the pleasure of meeting you in person out at Pressnomics earlier this year. Yeah. And it was a little happy hour at the conference patio or hotel patio after the conference for the day. And I don't even remember how our conversation was all over the place, but we landed on this topic of masterminds, and you were sharing with me your new adventure, Business BFFs, and it resonated with me. And on the show, many times we have talked about the value of masterminds, or what we just sort of said, like, masterminds are great, and drop the mic, run off. But we've never actually talked on the show. I've never had someone on to talk specifically about that. So I'm really excited to have you kind of break some of that stuff down for us today. So before we do that, for people that have not had the pleasure of sharing a cocktail with you at Pressnomics, give us the breakdown, who you are, what you do.
Well, thank you. And that was super fun. So I'm obviously Brandy Lawson. My company is TekGrl, TekGrl, because I wanted the shortest domain possible. But my job is to help businesses use the crap out of technology. That makes them better business owners, that makes them better servants to their clients, and that honestly makes them more money. So that kind of part and parcel has to do with WordPress. It has to do with automation. I really believe that there's no one size fits all. There is perfect fit technology. It's kind of like shoes. I like ridiculous shoes. And everybody needs shoes, but we're all looking for something a little bit different. And I think technology is the same thing. We all need technology. Technology is the game changer for businesses, but the right kind of technology for you is different than the right kind of technology for maybe someone else that is your competitor or looks like you, because it is at some level personal. The right tool is the one you're going to use. So that's how I approach my work with my clients, and I do have some WordPress admin stuff. And I think actually this ties actually nicely back into our idea of masterminds, because my first introduction to community as a business owner was the WordPress community. And I think that we were very fortunate here in the Phoenix area to have a very thriving WordPress community. And the people there inspired me and showed me kind of what a community could look like. And I think that was really the start of the road down to, through masterminds, understanding that level of community, and then ultimately creating our own.
Awesome. So when you say creating your own, are you talking specifically about Business BFFs, or?
Yes. So the first incarnation of Biz BFFs was called We Phoenix, Women Entrepreneurs Phoenix. And it was pretty informal. We wanted to do once a month coffee dates. It kind of came out of meeting my Biz BFF. So Stacey Harris and I, circa 2 years ago at a social media day, met in person. And something about our personalities just clicked. And so we continued the conversation, and we started, bouncing ideas off of each other. And she had previously been involved with this other group that had closed down. So she's like, hey, what do you think about coffee date? I'm like, that sounds like an awesome idea. Let's get together. Because that was just about 2 years into my business ownership, and it got kind of lonely. Nobody to share. You're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Because you go and tell your husband or your friends, and they're like, that's nice. Good job. Like, you don't understand.
I have no clue what you do, but congratulations.
It's so cute. Yeah. And more than that, also sharing the WTFs, I'm so stuck. I figured out about 18 months into my business that I was terrible at kicking my own butt. So I hired a coach, and that was helpful. But I think that there's a whole surround that you need to find as a business owner. And one of those is accountability, and one of those is community. And I think it looks different as you evolve through your business. So what really worked for you to fulfill one of those aspects last year might not be the same thing this year. And so that's where Stacey and I started the We Phoenix coffee dates. That was really impactful for us. Watching the women who attended regularly, and a year later where they were at with their businesses, we were like, wow, that's cool. Just, they're kicking ass and taking names, and it's going to be awesome. So we're like, we probably have to share this with other people. We probably should formalize it and make it a thing, so that we can offer this to people who haven't stumbled upon it or didn't have that need fulfilled for them in other ways.
That's awesome. Stacy is just chiming in here. She said, it's funny the conversations and relationships that can come out of meeting at happy hours for you two, it grew into a whole business. And that's so absolutely true. Touch on that bit of community and the importance of actually getting out and meeting people in person. Of course, that's not always possible. So in your case, you're meeting other women locally for face-to-face meetings. Do you think that you could have a same or similar meaningful interactions in a mastermind via just video chat, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're looking to grow, because you're right, it's not always possible. Even in the Phoenix area, we have gals who the drive, the traffic, the day of the week, whatever, it sort of prevents them from attending. So we are looking at the virtual component. I think the most important thing about masterminds and these is creating the right environment. We've had gals come in to a first coffee date and walk out, and through the introduction. So the way we structure is we do introductions, and then we share our wins, because it's really important to celebrate even the little stuff. Even if you just moved past something, or you took the next step, or whatever it is, we need to celebrate the wins. And then we share our WTFs. But even right after introductions, we've had women say, oh my God, where have you people been? This is amazing. So I think it's just really about the environment that you create, because if you create a judgment-free zone, safe space, place where people can experience that brutal honesty that I found out is necessary to successful business ownership. Painful, but necessary. But if you can get to that place faster and open up and share, you can get your answers faster. You can get past it and experience the success and the growth that we're all after. So I think it's the tone and the environment, and that can be done virtually or in person.
You bring up another interesting aspect I'd like to chat a little bit about, and that is the format. So you said for you guys, you do introductions, and then share your highlights, your lowlights, and what are some variety of formats that you can see? Because not every mastermind, like you said, the right tool for the job, and
right.
The tool you're going to use, and so not everybody's would look necessarily exactly like that. But what are some
other variations? Hot seat. So somebody basically volunteers to come in and share what's going on with them, whatever that means. It's not necessarily in categories of wins or WTFs, but just share what's ever going on with them, and then sort of get coached or get think through it with the help of other people. Some other mastermind formats I think are less formal in structure, more just kind of surrounding yourself with the people of the level you want to be at. So, for example, I know that Ramit Sethi and Marie Forleo kind of has her little group of people that they are just supporting each other. I feel like it's a lot less informal. They get together once a quarter, and maybe they have things that they go through, or they share what they're working on next and get people to bounce off ideas. But just the idea of surrounding yourself with people who are motivated, who are inspiring and aspiring, who kind of have that same mentality. Even I think sometimes it's really good to be super diverse, because too many likes you can miss the answer to the problem. So I like the diversity that we've been able to cultivate so far in Biz BFFs, and that's something that's also top of mind for me, because too much of the same, I don't think, brings out the best in us. So that's the other thing, is some masterminds might be designed to focus in on a certain aspect or topic, but other masterminds might be designed to elevate to a different level or introduce that diversity.
That's a great point about diversity, because you do get those different perspectives and different viewpoints that if people who are similar to you or like you, or would probably solve problems in the same way that that you would.
Yeah.
So I'm part of a local mastermind with two people who are only on the periphery of my industry. So they're not even, none of us do the same thing as each other. But the cool thing about it is we're all, like you said, sort of that highly motivated, driven. So we're able to challenge each other on that level. And, and they give me ideas for all kinds of things. Actually, breaking the podcast into seasons was born out of that group. So anyways, I'm just kind of prattling on, but it's, yes, +1 for diversity. And Paul brings up a great question. Says you're mentioning the gals. Are masterminds, do they need to be necessarily based on gender? Does it make a difference?
So this is kind of where you balance comfort and diversity. I don't think with the right environment and the right group of people, it does make a difference. But when you are, like we know with marketing, when you're trying to communicate a message, you're trying to focus in on the target audience. We've particularly focused in on women entrepreneurs for us because that was near and dear to us. And I found that this is a gross generalization, and Paul, this probably doesn't apply to you, but women are willing to get there faster. We're willing to open up and be vulnerable faster. It's not that guys aren't, and it's not that some guys can't, but when you're trying to get down to the nitty gritty and get that soul bared so that you can figure out what's going on and get to the next thing, there's a balance of making sure that people are comfortable and that they feel that we can protect that judgment-free zone. So honestly, I don't know how Stacey feels about this, but if any guy wanted to join Biz BFFs, I'm all in, because I think we've really put out there what we're about, and if they're comfortable with that and they want in, then we welcome them with open arms. But for the sake of trying to connect to the people who need us and be clear, but at a higher level, back to the diversity question, I think it actually would be good to have a mixed group, because gender is one of those things that sort of factors into our perspective, whether we like it or not. And so getting those other perspectives is helpful.
Cool. Thanks for exploring that a little bit. So let's say someone is listening to this right now and they're thinking, I want to do a mastermind. Would you recommend that people start their own, or that they go find a group, or how does one go from I don't even know anybody doing a mastermind right now, I wouldn't know who to ask if I did want to, but I want to be in a mastermind? Where would you go?
So like anything, I think first decide what you're trying to get out of it. If you are at the point where you're like, I'm just lonely and I need somebody to talk to, cool, that's great, that's perfect, as long as you've decided. If you're kind of beyond that and you're like, I'm really struggling with this particular thing, or I really want to next level and I want to hang out with people at the level above me, you first determine what you're after. Then you can figure out if you want to make your own or if you want to go join one. The cool thing about making your own is you make all the own rules. The hard part about making your own is you got to go find the people who want to abide by your rules. But with social, I think that becomes easier because you do have a group of friends. You are in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. You could go kind of poll. I found it helpful to have participated in other communities and other groups before I started my own, because then I had a better sense of what I was trying to accomplish with it and what kind of environment we wanted to create. So if you don't know, if you want one and you kind of know what you want from one and you don't know of any, Google and Facebook are your friend, or ask around, because there's probably a lot happening that you don't know about, because if you haven't been tuned into them, you probably don't know about them. If you want to check out what we're doing, bizbffs.com, check out what we're doing and just poke around and see what fits for you, because like we talked about at the top of the show, what is working and filling your needs today, it will eventually change.
Good stuff. Paul chimes in. He says that he tends to wear his heart on his sleeve, which does freak out some guys, or can lead to personal intimidation. Certainly understand that. Well, Paul, it sounds like you'd be right at home and having
come
coffee
on
with Brandy.
We'd love to have you.
Head on, catch that next flight out to Phoenix. Yeah, so the people, I mean, we talked about diversity, but in terms of the skill level, I guess, or maybe not even skill level is the right word, but where people are in their journey, like I always want to be, I never want to be the smartest person in the room, because that's terrible. I kind of like being the stupidest person in the room, because then I know that I can learn a lot from people around me.
Right.
How do you, well, I was going to touch on this more later on in the show, but any thoughts on finding those people that are at the right parts in their journey that you would want to saddle up with? I mean, are you just talking to them on social media first?
Well, that certainly is one way to go about it. So with me, sometimes I have trouble identifying that, because I'm not sure what the next step in my journey is. So I just kind of keep my eye out for people that are doing things I admire, that I can say, oh, I do aspire to, maybe I don't aspire to like be exactly where they're at next step, but I aspire to be able to do the things that they're trying to do. And then I see where they're hanging out and see who else they're hanging out with, because, you know, like attracts like, and just start to feel my way through it. And then, yeah, if you want to reach out, if you were to want to start your own mastermind, you kind of had this handful of people that you were interested in getting into it, I would say you first have to decide how you're going to add value to them for them to be interested in whatever you're doing. So with Biz BFFs, we've got a podcast, but we also have inside Biz BFFs, we deliver a monthly knowledge bomb. So sharing insights and other things that are going on. And we've got our private community, again, just so that level 3 conversations can happen. Well, not the Fabi and Frederickson's term, like the real bare soul conversations can happen virtually in a safe space. So, you know, those are some of the other things, other value points that you can add or bring when you're trying to get a group of people together.
I love that you have knowledge bombs.
Dropping the knowledge bomb.
I like to drop knowledge, or my guests are always dropping knowledge bombs left and right on this podcast. If this podcast were a field, it would have pock marks all over it from all the knowledge bombs.
Awesome.
So a follow-up question on how do you find masterminds or get connected to one? Have you ever heard of meetup.com being used for that purpose?
Yeah, there are. I was trying to think if I knew of any specific masterminds on Meetup, but Meetup is a great place to connect with people who are connecting. Here in Phoenix, we also have a local it's called Networking Phoenix. It's a site that has all of the networking events. So I think those are good places to start if you're looking for masterminds. A lot of people use that as the social link when they're trying to get something started.
Cool. Is there a secret Twitter hashtag, like hashtag my mastermind me?
That would be a question for Stacy. I'm not the social genius. I'm the tech genius. The social is not like I participate, but it's not my area.
All right. Well, Stacy, if you know about that, you'll have to chime in and let us know. So let's talk a little bit about paid versus free masterminds, because there's both varieties, and even within the paid variety, there's that range can be huge, from something very modest like what you're doing with Business BFFs to all the way to, you know, thousands of dollars, and to be mentored by these A-listers. What would you say to people? Because people see those really expensive ones and they're like, what the heck? Like, first of all, I can't afford that. Second of all, would it even do me any good? I don't know. What are your thoughts around
So this is kind of where mastermind and coaching, the lines get fuzzy, because coaching can be super valuable. Masterminds can be super valuable. I think that there's even a greater value kind of in the crossover, because watching someone else be coached, understanding that, having the conversation around it, I equate it sort of to my graduate school. I attended graduate school while I was still working. So we had a room of working professionals. A professor would teach us, but then we would also share about our experiences. And I think that the learning experience was richer for having that double collaboration. Like the coach or the professor was adding their value, and then there was more value being extracted by the conversations and the experience of the people in the room. So I think that at some level there is massive value in hanging out with other people who are at a very high level, who have invested in themselves and their businesses at that level, with a coach who can also participate at that level. That's really cool. That's not where I'm at this point. And you also have to balance how much value you're going to extract from it, because when you participate in a program like that, it also is pretty time intensive. But sometimes that's what it takes us to get to the next level. Paying also means that you've got skin in the game and you're willing to pay more attention. Freebie sometimes, while it can be super valuable, we have a tendency to take it for granted because we got no skin in the game. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go this month and it's not going to cost me any money and it's going to be fine, as opposed to, nope, I paid and I'm showing up and my butt's putting it in the seat and I'm going to get the value and I'm there to add the value. Because that's the other thing about masterminds, is that it's about everybody in the room contributing. So when Stacy and I decided to do Biz BFFs, we decided that we would do a modest paid model, because we wanted people that were serious, because we wanted them to get value from each other as well. It's a two-way street. So we wanted people that were willing to make a level of investment into their development.
That makes total sense. It takes a lot of commitment to show up week after week or whatever time
month after month, or whatever
your mastermind occurs. And when it's free, it is easier to say, oh, you know what? I've got a lot of work to do this morning. I'm not going to be able to make it to the meeting, guys.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, which yeah. So I see what you're saying. I've never paid to be in a mastermind, and I've had some wonderful people, but I know that that is something. Somebody's always missing. Every meeting, somebody's missing for that reason. Costa's asked, is it a good idea to try out a few before committing to one? How long before deciding if it's a good fit for you? So is masterminding like dating?
I think networking in general, masterminding, networking, all the rest of it is totally like dating, and like technology, because you got to find what fits. But really, there's something out there for everyone, and what's going to work for you you're going to have to figure that out. So absolutely, I'd say, depending on how frequently they meet, give it two times. Like I don't think going one time is going to give you the full. It could have been an off week. It could have been an off month. It could have been amazing that month, and it's usually not. It could have been crappy that month, and it's usually not. I'd say at least twice, 3 times if you can do it. Our model with Biz BFF is that you can, if you're invited, you can come attend our coffee date as a non-member twice as our guest. So no cost to you. You can come check it out twice, and then you have to decide if you want to join or not. But I think it's only fair that you get to try before you buy, because if it's not the right fit for you, then it's also kind of detrimental to everybody else in the group. So yes, networking, dating, masterminds, definitely go check it out at least twice is my advice before you opt in.
Yeah, that is good advice. But on the flip side of the coin, and I guess this is where you said your level 3 conversations happen behind that login wall. But like you said, there's a lot being shared in masterminds. They can get pretty intimate. And when I say intimate, I mean, like I'm rolling out my bank statement and we're talking, you're sharing very personal and private details, or even personal things that are affecting your business life. But anyways, so that scenario, that's the environment that we've got going on.
Right.
So these people that are coming in to try us out, try us on for size, does that ruin that vibe or cause people to clam up? Because
it's why it's by invite only. So we kind of vet you before we will give you an invite to come attend our coffee date as a non-member. If you pay your money and walk in the door, you get to attend. And we try to be, pretty out there about what we're about, so that we haven't had anybody walk in and be like, what the hell is going on here? And we haven't had any Debbie Downers in our space. So far so good, because you have to be invited if you want to attend as a guest. And we're probably not going to extend an invite if we don't feel like you're going to contribute to our vibe.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense, because that trust factor is massive.
It's really, it's the necessary foundation for anything serious and good to happen.
Probably say that about relationships in general.
In general.
Let's see. Stacy is saying that hashtag Mastermind will find you some masterminds on Twitter, either from folks sharing when they're at theirs or people promoting their own. I think it's about finding them and then looking at who is really involved. Masterminds depend 100% on people. Yes. And you're getting a +1 on the skin in the game, the Hamilton Broadway soundtrack. Apparently, Joe, you have a random variety of knowledge, and I appreciate that about you, sir. Leslie asks, he says, so Carrie, you've mentioned that you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I get what's in it for me when I'm not the smartest person in the room. When asking others to participate in a mastermind then who are smarter than, what's in it for them? Great question. And I'm going to jump in on this and then I'm going to turn it over to you. First, there might be some imposter syndrome popping out. When I say smartest person in the room, or I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, by no means does that mean that I don't have anything to contribute or experiences to share or perspective to give. And the same is true of you, Leslie, or anybody that's listening to this. So people are smart in different ways, and people share experiences, or everyone brings their own unique thing to the table, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So even though you might not be the most technically proficient or the most business savvy or whatnot in the room, you still have things that you can bring to the table. The flip side of that is find someone that you can mentor, because I guarantee you know more than somebody else does. So have them, bring them into the fold as well. Anyway, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would agree on the mentor-mentee relationship and the perspective. So we all have a value to add, whether we recognize it or not, part of the imposter syndrome. I think the willingness to air your perspective is value. So that's one thing. Also, people are looking for other people to mentor. There's value in mentoring someone, because you can refine your skill set, and teaching others, you get a better depth of knowledge about things that you knew or experiences that you've had. So there might be some value to the smarter people in the room to have you, that you're not as far along in whatever journey that is. There was one other thing I was thinking about.
It's contagious. It's contagious. It happens to me all the time.
It had to do with the journey. Yeah, and sharing your journey. That we all have value to add to one another, and just trying to aspire to that next level. Just because your journey's not there yet doesn't mean you don't have valuable things to add to the conversations being had at that level.
Absolutely. Devender asks, how do you follow up mastermind activities or discussions? Are you doing like Skype sessions or emails, or how important is it? So between meetings, what kind of communication is happening?
So we use our Facebook group. There's a lot of accountability. If you say that you're going to do something, like pencils start moving in the room, people writing down, and they're going to follow up with you in the Facebook group and like, okay, you said you were going to fire that client by today. Did you do it? Also, yeah, we really use the Facebook group as the place where the conversation continues. We follow up on things that were happening. We add, sometimes we'll have a discussion in our mastermind, and then somebody will go and a week later find a resource and be like, hey, you were asking about this, here's something else. So we use the Facebook group as that continuing conversation between our monthly meetings.
Okay, cool. The ones I've been in, we've not done any sort of midway follow-up. It's just see you each meeting and bring your updates to the table. We're a little over the halfway mark here, so I'm going to pause the discussion really quickly to again thank my sponsors. I love my sponsors because they fund my time to do this and some of the costs that come along with podcasting. So I appreciate them very much. And today in particular, I'm appreciating Pantheon, who has got a free webinar they're offering to Office Hours FM listeners that teaches you how to scale WordPress sites for high traffic. And you can check out their webinar over at cdills.me/high-speed-sites, or just go over to Office Hours FM, today's episode page, and look for them. And then we also have DIYSEOcourses.com offering To the Top SEO course that I am currently enrolled in and taking. I started a blogging journey, like a 30 days to go through this course and blogging like each step along the way. And I was very foolish to think that those were going to be consecutive days, because I'm like 2 months in and only on day 10. But, whatever, self-imposed. It doesn't have anything to do with 30 days. That was the class itself. That was something I made up. Anyways, Rebecca over there at To The Top is offering a 25% discount for Office Hours.fm members. And you can get that with the coupon code LOVEOfficeHoursFM. And we love you too,
Aww.
Rebecca. Okay, so if you are joining us late in the party, I am talking to Brandi Lawson, and we're talking about the importance of community and business buddies, specifically in the form of a mastermind group. You can ask her Twitters. You can ask her Twitters via questions.
Excellent.
Wow. Ask her questions on Twitter with hashtag OfficeFM, or on Google's over their Q&A app. All right. So good discussion happening over on Twitter. Matt says that he has started a mastermind in the past month here, and that doing exactly what we've been talking about. Found a diverse group who all wanted accountability and growth, and that's going well.
Awesome.
I'm glad to hear that, Matt. And then Melanie chimes in, being a part of a mastermind group is unbelievably helpful in your freelance business. I would have to concur. So I put a proverb at the top of today's episode page that says, is iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. But I love the imagery of that, that when you're so much better after an interaction with someone where you're learning or being challenged or even teaching than if you never had that interaction at all. Like it sharpens you, it hones your skills, yo. I don't know why I just went, I don't know why I said any of that, and I wish I could take it back and rewind.
You're dropping knowledge bombs.
Oh, excuse me. Man, so with all that we talked about, let's go to the other end of the spectrum and say, I've been part of a mastermind group for a while. We've all been on our various journeys, and we're at a point, or maybe I'm at a point in my journey where this group is no longer a good fit for me. how do you know when it's time to break up or move on? Or if you're the one hosting the mastermind, the one that created it, you know, when it's time to pass on the reins or just let it go?
When you have to have the "it's not you, it's me" conversation. Well, I think if we can get to the place of brutal honesty with ourselves, which I have found is probably one of the hardest but most essential things to being a business owner. You kind of know, you kind of get the feeling over time when you're not getting as much value, or you feel like you have to work harder to get people to come along, or they're just not playing the same mindset space that you are. I've also found once you get to like the next level of mindset, it becomes pretty easy to identify the people who are not operating at that level or above. So listen to your instincts, be honest with yourself about that, be honest about how you want to spend your time. If you're the organizer and you've kind of outgrown this, but you're finding value in mentoring, super, awesome, carry on and find another mastermind group that will serve you to the next level. If that's not working for you and you want to step back, I would suggest having the side conversation and see if somebody else wants to take over as the leader. We've even in our, we're pretty small still at this point, even in our pretty small mastermind group, we found that there are other kind of natural leaders bubbling to the top who there might be somebody you could tap to take over the reins, and you step back and find something else that serves you. But back to creating the environment, you want to make sure that the table you've set includes the ability for people to move on when they're ready, because I think it's really important to recognize that the one thing that is the thing today is not going to be the thing at some point.
Wise words. I'd expect no less of you. Let's see. Matt asks, can we talk a little bit more about meeting format? They've got 4 members and they meet 1 hour twice a month. And it's not enough time, but meeting more is really hard on schedules.
So we have struggled with this also, which is kind of why we went to once a month. And we've made, so we did have a group of 10 for the coffee date, and that was, we were 3 hours, and that was not enough time for 10 people. So we've scaled back and we did 8, and that was still kind of pushing it, but we found that the 3 hour block is necessary. So we do it once a month, we do a 3 hour block, because when you get into it, you want to be able to get into it and get to the bottom of it before you move on. So this month, actually, we're down to 5 because we had one not fill up completely, and we found that was super amazingly helpful for everyone in the room, because we could really like roll up our sleeves and dig into the stuff. And yeah, it's a time commitment. We've gone to once a month, 3 hours, because that seemed doable for us. But to get the value out, you got to have the time to put in. So it is a struggle. An hour every 2 weeks, yeah, that doesn't, especially for 4 people, does not seem like enough. I think you'd probably have to move to, you might try the 3 hours once a month if people were game for that, or with schedules. We also played around with starting times because we had things like traffic, people trying to get there. You could also play around with virtual. If people could log on and do an hour and a half, like hour and a half virtually and an hour and a half in person, you could maybe divide it up that way and get a little bit more time. You also could maybe have 2 people go 1 week and 2 people go another week if the hour was really important, because less than a half an hour to get through it, one person is, yeah, I would find that very challenging.
Yeah, he says everyone gets 15 minutes to talk about what they're doing, report on things they said they would be doing before the next meeting, what they plan on doing, and then ask questions about stuff. So yeah, that is a lot in a short time frame.
The other thing I just thought of is you could use something like a Facebook group to support that. So maybe everybody submits their reports in the Facebook group the day before, and then you can spend more time in the meeting, like kind of pairing apart and unraveling the sweater, getting into the issues, as opposed to sort of the reporting. So you might try it that way, sort of a mix of the virtual and the in-person.
That's a good suggestion there. So Tara asks, can setting lofty goals in a mastermind push you too far, or is it good to get out of your comfort zone a little bit? I think that's a leading question.
I think that out of your comfort zone is the only place to be. And I have a hard time walking that talk. But my last corporate job was at a place that helped me operate outside of my comfort zone with great frequency. I was super resistant to it. It's not something that comes really easily to me, but it is the only place in that where I grow. And what I figured out, my big learning for this year was that my business can only grow as much as I do. My personal development is the standard bearer for how much my business can grow and become the next thing. So if that's what you want, then you got to find that line and step over it.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly, and I love that that quote you just gave. I'm going to yank that out for our show notes and highlight that. Yeah, because you do get in a rut or in your thinking, and it doesn't even have to be so formal as a mastermind. I mean, even just chatting with people at conferences and having those good conversations is helpful just to get different perspective. So yeah, I don't think I don't think mastermind necessarily equals go set very lofty goals. I think it's more that you're putting yourself in an environment to be challenged, but also to get your creative juices flowing.
Yeah, and supported. Sometimes we feel like, well, I could set that lofty goal. I kind of want to set that lofty goal. I'm not sure if I want to set that lofty goal. And if you have a community or a mastermind or a coach or a biz BFF that goes, no, set the lofty goal, go, go, go. You're like, okay, I feel like I can do that.
Oops. Yes, it is excellent to have business cheerleaders.
Yes. That can be the name of your next mastermind.
Hey, yeah, the biz cheerleaders. We bring our pom-poms and our megaphones and our air horns. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, Mickey. Just kidding. And again, I have done something that I wish I can edit that out for the iTunes version of this podcast, but I can't take it back right now. Let's see some more comments. Melanie says, private Facebook groups and Slack channels are great ways to continually interact with your mastermind group. I'm personally a big fan of Slack over Facebook. Facebook for me there's just so much going on. It's hard not to go look at cute babies while you're there checking in.
You need the newsfeed eradicator.
Is that, how do you do that?
It's a Chrome extension, and it just removes the newsfeed. Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I do need to check that out.
I can't be trusted with the Facebook newsfeed. It's true.
Let's see. Paul says, any place outside my office is outside of my comfort zone. Well, Paul, that's why you get to do virtual masterminds. And then Tara has a follow-up question. Have you ever seen partnerships grow out of masterminds?
Yes. I was trying to think. Well, Stacey and I was opposite. We had a partnership and then we had a mastermind. Yeah, in other groups and other masterminds, they're definitely, when you find somebody that you've got synergy with, or they're working on a project and you can add to it, definitely a place that is fertile ground for partnerships. And I would say, Paul, as a follow-up, go to a coffee shop, start working from a coffee shop, like get out of your comfort zone, because environment can help us break through barriers and find new perspective. And even if you're not going to go talk to another person, like get out of your office and then work up to talking to another person.
Yeah, I think it does a ton for creativity, just to just go sit even someplace different in my house than in my office. Go sit at the kitchen table or something. And yeah, and +1 for leaving the house occasionally. For some reason, I get more done. Like at home, I might all of a sudden need to fold some clothes, or those are avoidance tactics when I'm doing dishes instead of working. But yeah, when you're out at a coffee shop or whatnot, you got your laptop and your latte. Let's see. So what do you say to our masterminds only for the sort of the person starting out, those of us who are young in our business journeys, or for people who have been doing something for a long time? Is there benefit to them in a mastermind?
I think it's benefit at all levels and phases and places of business. As we talked about, it might look different for someone starting out versus someone who's very well established. My dad is an entrepreneur. My parents opened a restaurant the year I was born. Not until I became a mother was I like, what in the world are you even doing? That's insane. But he never had a formal mastermind, but he had other groups that he was involved with that just happened to be business owners, and they would have conversations. So we have a label for it now, and we kind of, define it as its own thing. But any place that you're getting support and mentorship, or you're mentoring, you're having those interactions that are not maybe directly involved with your business, but sort of around your business, I think they're helpful at every level, because I'm finding that business is this sort of continual cycle. You define your target market, you blah, 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 and then you're like, oh crap, I have to go redefine my target market. Like, there's a cycle that you go through no matter where you're at in your business, and it's a continual evolution. So having the support bubble, I'll call it the support bubble around you to keep you moving, to keep you supported, to keep you sane, and out of your own head, because that's the other place that I can really get stuck pretty fast, is right in there, and it's not helping anybody.
Very true. That made me kind of a tangential thought, but football is big here in Texas, and so to use a sports analogy, in terms of progress, I just always think about moving the ball down the field, or maybe it's moving the needle, or whatever. But every day you're pushing one little step closer to whatever it is that you're going to be doing, and being accountable to someone beyond yourself is
powerful.
Very, very powerful. Even saying out loud, saying it on social media, assuming you have more than one follower. Otherwise, you can just say it into a black hole.
But to follow the sports analogy, is that every team has a coach. I don't care if they're an NFL team or Pee Wee League. Everybody's got a coach. They've got breakout groups. They have vocalists have coaches, Olympic athletes. If you're at the pinnacle of what is the sport, you still have somebody who you're working with, and probably even a team, like not just one coach, but multiple coaches who are helping with different things. That's a sort of your mastermind. So I think there's no level at which you're like, nope, I got this nailed, I'm good.
There's no I am above masterminds because I am a master.
Yeah, I think even the masters still surround themselves with other people who push them and continually move the ball down the field.
All right. Well, if anybody's got we've got a breaking confession on Twitter from Rebecca. She says, confession, I could use a mastermind or a mastermind outside of Skyping me. All right. So Rebecca's on the hunt for the mastermind. That's not a confession, dear. We all need something.
We all need something.
Yes. So if you've got another question for Brandi, you better get it in quick, because we're gonna have to wrap up here in a second. But what are you reading right now? Or listening to?
Well, we've got a book of the month with Biz BFFs, and we just finished Miracle Morning. That is a game changer. Are you familiar with Miracle Morning?
Do you say a Miracle Morning? Miracle
Morning.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, so you can grab the book. It's not that long of a read. It's by Hal Elrod, and we did a Biz BFF podcast on it. And if we'd heard of it before, you might be under the impression that it requires you to get up at 5 a.m. every day, and that's not true. It also does not require, it's very customizable. But what the author found, he was at the top of his game and was in this horrific car accident, actually died, and then had to come back physically, mentally, and with his business. And then he also was at the pinnacle of his business, and then the recession hit, everything came crashing down, he was in debt, and he was depressed, and he had to build himself back up again. But through these experiences, he figured out that if he took time at the beginning of the day, before everything else gets in the way, to essentially do personal development, that it changed everything. And I think that Stacey and I would say that that's true for us too. So we read the book and we started doing the Miracle Morning, and each one of us kind of just has our own way of doing it. Beginning this year, I started to do yoga in the morning because that just really helps my brain. But now I've kind of added the other pieces of personal development, and wow, it really is very cool. So I really recommend Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. If you haven't read it, it's a very short read. You can get it on Audible. This is how I read it, but it's a game changer.
Cool. I will definitely check that out. I've got I do the Audible membership, like the 1 book a month thing. So I've got a couple credits racked up. And I'll, for those of you listening, I'll include a link to that in the show notes from today. So you don't have to have your pen out in your car, being unsafe, writing down.
Yeah, no texting and driving, no writing and driving.
Well, our time is coming up on an end here. I got one more thing for you, but before that, if you're listening, well, if you're not listening, you won't even know what I'm going to say. So that was superfluous words. If you'd like to get in, be in the loop about things going on with the podcast each week and just be reminded of episodes, I send out 1 email a week, and you can sign up for that over at officehours.fm/subscribe. I would love to have you over there. This is episode 97, which means we're 3 episodes away from 100, and I'm so excited. I can't stand it. So yes, be sure to tune in the next few weeks. And hopefully after that, I don't even know why I said that. Okay. So Brandi.
Yes.
I know everyone has fallen in love with you and the Masterminds after hearing you talk today. Where can someone find you, stalk you, follow up with you, get in touch with you?
So you can always find me at TekGrl.com, TekGrl.com. I'm the TekGrl on most social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, yada, yada. Also, if you want to check out Biz BFFs, that's BIZBFFS.com. Come check us out if you want to join us. We're not a Phoenix only group. Our coffee dates happen to be in Phoenix, but all of our knowledge bombs, our book club, the Facebook group, it's available to anybody. So if you're looking for some support and you just need it immediately, we're here for you. But find the mastermind that works for you. But we'd love to see you.
Awesome. Thank you, dear, for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
My pleasure.
I'm going to let you go so you can get back to your work so that you're free to ride around on your bike tomorrow.
Yay!
Cool. Well, to all you guys out there who tuned in, thank you very much. And I will see you next week. Bye, guys.